Okay, so I'm back in the shop, and if there's like a noise in the background, that fan is running absolutely full blast, and as you can probably tell from my nice shiny face here, it's insanely humid outside, and even with all the garage doors open and fans in the ceiling and that fan pushing air in, it's still pretty humid in here. So hopefully the noise doesn't bother you that bad. But anyway, I need to film 2 videos right now. The first one of those videos is this, the update on the Fox float that I've had rebuilt like longer ago than I actually want to admit. And but yeah, so we're gonna find out when you're using BBR springs and rods in the front of a CRF110, which one of these extensions works the best. Now I am gonna give you a quick warning that I've had a lot of people that have said that the 1 inch is too short and the 2 inch is a little bit too long. So there have been people that take the 3/4 inch extensions and put 2 of them. I kind of want to avoid having to stack these extensions because then there's more threads and there's just more Loctite, and it's just, I'm gonna try to avoid that if I can. My guess is that the 2 inch is probably gonna work the best for what I want it to, how I want it to ride and feel. But again, this is personal preference. But before we can do anything, let's take the seat off this thing. Let's get my, I have a stock shock with an extender on it right now, and I just recently rode the bike just kind of around and have a feeling of what that feels like. So let's throw the float on, and the first one we are going to use is the 1 inch extension, and get it off the stand, see how everything sits, and yeah, let's just start throwing these things on and see which one works. So I just got the shock off, and I want to show you guys something. So there's been a lot of posts in the CRF110 group that I'm a part of that I help Cameron Jones like admin on Facebook, and there was a guy on there that posted and just swore that anything past a 1 inch extension for the Fox float was just way too much and your bike was going to be way too tall. I actually have my 110. My forks are maybe down in the clamps like 1/8 of an inch. So I actually shortened it up a little bit. And I want to show you, this is the shock I'm running right now. It's a stock shock, it's a BBR spring, and it has a 1 inch extension. If you missed that video, I'll link it, whatever side those things pop out. And for the sake of just so you have a visual here, this is the stock shock, or the shock I'm running now, and this is the Fox float with a 1 inch extension on it. I'm not even going to waste my time putting this on because I can already tell you it is going to be way too short. I don't know, maybe people like dropping their forks a little bit more, or maybe some people like with like a little bit of sag in the rear. I personally ride almost perfectly level. Maybe some bikes I've rode like just a hair down in the front, but almost always perfectly level, or at least it feels like that. But anyway, that's the comparison. So, and I'm holding them level, it's actually off a pegboard where I got that, but I just wanted to show you just the quick comparison of the length different. So let me throw the 2 inch one on here, and I'll put them both on here so we can see how close those match up. All right, so this is the size of the 1 inch extension. This is the 2 inch extension, just so you have a visual of what those look like. And for scientific research purposes, here are those shocks side by side. I'm gonna say that is literally almost identical to, you know, where you could come into difference with this and may need to go to the 2 1/4 is maybe you have your rebound set different, or you don't like something about the way it, you know, but I'm gonna say that's probably almost perfect. I'm gonna throw the 2 1/4 one on there real quick so you can just see, but instead of having to take the shock on and off of the bike a bunch, I'm probably gonna put it on with the 2 and test everything and then see what you guys think and see what I think. But that's a 2 inch extension compared to a stock shock with the extender on it. So I'll throw the 2 1/4 inch one on now so you can see that. All right, here we go. Fully tightened down. This is the 2 1/4 inch extension next to the shock I've been running. As you can see, it's pretty close, but it's a hair long. I would say to perfectly match the shock I have now, I would need like a 2 and like an 8, but I think the 2 inch extension is probably perfect. because you can see that's a little bit longer. And you could actually probably get away with this if you pick the triple clamps, like let the forks fall all the way down to the top of the triple clamp, but I kind of like leaving just that little bit of room on them. So I'm gonna put the 2-inch one on the bike and we'll see what that looks like. That is with the 2-inch extension on, and I can tell you from taking the other shock off that the bolt holes were almost exactly where I took my other shock off. So I'm going to set it on the ground now and we'll see how close it looks. But just looking at it, eyeing it on the stand, it looks almost identical to the other shock I had on there. And if you guys have never had a Fox float or any type of air shock that's been rebuilt like mine was, what you have to do is, I noticed that I could not get the air to stay in, or that I couldn't really pump as much as I knew the shock held. So I totally forgot that Jeff, the kid that rebuilt the shock for me, once I put it on the bike, you have to cycle it a bunch of times. So basically just jump up and down on it and pump more air into it, do it again, and just kind of repeat that a few times. After I did that, and then I've also changed my, like that spring rate setting, where you the piece that you twist. And I need to look up under here and I'll tell you the exact setting I landed on. When you twist that around, it ends up letting you put more or less air in. So this is the final, this is it. The 2-inch extension is absolutely perfect. You can just tell by looking that if you went 2 1/4, it would be raked where your front would sit down a little bit. But I've got it leaned up against a block so you can see, but just sitting on it, I can tell you that's almost identical to what I had on there with the stock spring and an extension. And I can tell you that just jumping up and down on this shock and riding it around in here, it's definitely a lot smoother than my other shock. All right, here's a look from the other side. And again, I'm not really making this video and saying this is exactly the extension you need. Suspension is kind of a personal setting. Everybody likes their stuff different. You know, being a shorter person, I always rode like my 125 and 250 two-strokes with seats shaved down and lowering links, and always kind of ran, I think, slightly on the soft side in the rear and then kind of firm up front. It was weird. You know, it's just one of those things, it's just a feel. You get used to something you like and that's what you do. But I can tell you, for all the people that have been asking about, you know, closest to level ride height, and I'm going to show you too, these are where my forks are right now. They are not, they're not perfectly level. I'd say you got about 1/8 of an inch right here dropped. And so, you know, if you were to run those perfectly flush with your triple clamps, there is a chance you could go to the 2 1/4 inch extension. But I'm not 100% sure how someone was running a 1-inch extension if they had rods up front. If they just had springs, totally understandable. But lifting the front and then also doing that, I'm not really sure. So, but yeah, that's it. I am going to throw the GoPro on my helmet now, take a couple laps on the track and see how this thing feels, and then that's it. We've finished. Now you have your answer to which extension I'm running on the Fox float. Way smoother than the other one. That feels way better. Haven't rode this track for a while. Alright. Making sure I didn't have anything I was going to land on there. That's kind of where I want to test it, is rebound off jumps and stuff like that. That handled it pretty well. Woo! We need to clean up out here. Right right there, dropping into that berm like that, the other shock would have been like, you literally would have almost got bucked off. This thing just soaked it up. I don't think anyone's rode this track for probably, it's been a while, so kind of doing a parade lap here to make sure I'm not going to run anything over. Just going to say right off the bat, it's pretty good. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty damn good. But let's take one real lap here. I'll go as fast as I can comfortably with shorts and no pants, and yeah, let's see what happens. Definitely handles that better. Whoa, my God. Okay. So I don't know how well you can tell in that video, but I'm used to kind of compressing just a little bit to kind of just get enough little bump to get the butt over that. That just shot me straight in the air. Wow, this thing's got some bounce to it. I like it. All right. That's crazy. You can just kind of feel like, I dig it. I may have to soften that rebound a little bit. It's hard to judge just sitting on it, but man, that thing's got some buck to it. I can tell you though that I like how at the setting I'm at right now, which is, for the record, it was I just looked under the bike before I came back out here. It's like in between 3 and 4 on the settings. This thing's cornering way better. Like when you fall into a rut, it just locks in and it takes it so much smoother. It's not so jarring. But yeah, that jump, man, that was that caught me off guard. Woo, my ruts are all gone. Man, it takes those so much better. That is crazy. Definitely rebound. That's what bucked me last time, so if anyone was curious. Feels way better though, just landing and everything. So much better. All right, so final thoughts just so far. The immediate thing I noticed right away with the Fox Float was just how much less jarring it feels in the handlebars when you go through like kind of like what you would call speed bumps on a motocross track, just like braking bumps and stuff, like really close together, small bumps, but ones that with kind of a stiffer shock like the BBR spring I had on here before, you could feel it kind of chatter a lot more. And with this, it seems to kind of absorb those and it just smooths out the ride a lot. The other thing I will say that I noticed almost immediately was I started noticing a lot more in the front suspension because the back felt so much better. So I'm not super worried about that. because I have this whole kit here, these TRC, this is the front wheel that'll go on there. I got a lot of stuff I have to do because this is not made for a CRF110. The forks were originally part of a kit, I think, that was made for a CRF110, but that kit doesn't exist on T-Bolt's website. I have tried to get information on that company or like what the deal is, not 100% sure. So I just pieced together all my own stuff. That's going to be probably one of the next videos on this 110 after the CJR Go-Go parts video, which is the next video I'm going to film and kind of do comparison stuff between stock bike, Go-Go part bike, and then we're going to do some comparison against the KLX 110 that's just, all it has is an exhaust and it's rejetted for the exhaust. But yeah, so there you go. The 2-inch extension with BBR springs and dampening rods up front, and I do have both springs. I didn't put just one. I've seen some people do that. But yeah, I will say, like, the front suspension on the bike's fine. I mean, it's a pit bike. You're gonna bottom out when you do stupid stuff or hit things really hard. But with how good the Fox float feels now, I started noticing a lot more things in the handlebars because of the front suspension. So it'll be nice to switch over to those TRC forks and see if that kind of makes this bike just ride like butter, because I'm assuming it will, but we'll find out. So anyway, there you go. Fox float, 2020 CRF110, 2-inch extensions what I went with, and about just a little bit of drop right there in the triple clamp, but that's it. That is the answer you've been waiting for on the Fox float. So hopefully that helped. Hopefully it made some sense, and hopefully it kind of helps you make a decision if you're looking at buying a Fox float or trying to figure out how to make one work on your 2020 CRF110. There you go.